What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're not going to talk about the lack of uploading from me. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to get right into the video. Obviously, I'm a Sixers fan. If you don't know that, now you do. A lot of people do know that. But we're going to talk about the offseason a little bit and this past season as a whole. I started writing the script for this video after Game 5 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Miami Heat. I assumed their season was going to be over, regardless if they pushed it to Game 7 or not. Thankfully, they just lost in 6. I didn't have to worry about a Game 7. I wasn't going to believe in this team to win 2 straight games anyway on the brink of elimination. But as I return now, June 1st, 2022, it appears that I was right, obviously. And unfortunately, that brings me to the main topic of this video. This offseason for the Philadelphia 76ers is going to be the most impactful, should be the most impactful in recent memory. But before we get into the next coming offseason, or this offseason, let's kind of review what happened last season. For one, obviously, dealing with the whole Ben Simmons situation, that is unfortunate to say the least. Obviously, going through the whole last offseason into this season until we traded eventually for James Harden. It's kind of just looming over, a huge cloud just looming over the heads of the Sixers organization, Sixers fans. I can only assume the players as well. Playing 60-plus games without your second best player, they played well. They were in position to win the Eastern Conference. Joel Embiid was playing like an MVP candidate because he was an MVP candidate. The emergence of Tyrese Maxey, phenomenal. He's fucking great. My favorite player currently in the NBA. Then we traded for James Harden. I like the trade. It was better than literally nothing that Ben Simmons was giving us over the course of the season. And obviously, healthy James Harden is probably a top 10 player in the NBA. Obviously, he's got a hamstring injury. First few games, Harden was here, euphoric. I don't think I've ever been happier as a Sixers fan watching regular season basketball. Then it kind of trailed off. Then we got into the playoffs, beat the Raptors, obviously. Embiid goes out, gets injured, end of Game 6 of that Raptors series, out first 2 games of the Heat series. Obviously, that derails the entire postseason for us as Sixers fans and the Sixers in general. So once he got injured, I kind of wrote off the season. I wasn't really in on this season once we got James Harden anyway. I thought that next season, after an offseason, Daryl Morey can construct the roster around these 2 guys. Hopefully the roster will be better. We'll get into that a little later. But this season wasn't really anything to me after we got James Harden. I'm looking to next season. Regardless, the season ended in kind of poor fashion. Obviously, you never want to lose in the playoffs. Obviously, it's only one winner ever, or every single year. But yeah, the players on this squad, not too bad. You could argue Harden is a bit concerning down the stretch, but I will attribute a lot of that to the hamstring injury, and he'll obviously have the entire offseason to rehab, get that right. I'm assuming he'll be kind of locked in going into next season. Unfortunately, though, there were a lot of fundamental issues with the 76ers this season, and almost all of them did stem from either the roster itself or how Doc Rivers employed said roster. In my opinion, the biggest downfall of this team was the lack of defenders. Obviously, a lot of the meat writer casual fans, some of them that I know personally, will point to one Matisse Thybulle. I will tell you guys to go fuck yourselves. Matisse Thybulle is not good at defense. I don't care what anyone says. Sure, he will get you your flashy, steals, blocks, your box score numbers. I don't think I've seen a full game where he actually just fucking stays in front of someone on the defensive end. And not to mention, his fucking offensive ability is trash. He shot 31% from 3 this year. He got a little better once Harden got back, or once Harden got on their team. But then, obviously, the COVID issue happened. He's not vaccinated. He couldn't play in Canada. That kind of derailed his rhythm a little bit. But he wasn't really good on the offensive side of the ball anyway. It was kind of 4-on-5 when he was on the floor on offense. He's got to go, in my opinion. We'll get into that later. Other than the lack of defense, there's no athletes on this team. I believe Charlie Brown Jr. was probably the most athletic player on this roster. And a lot of you are probably asking, who the hell is that? Yeah, he's a fucking G League guy. He's not that good. Obviously, Maxi's fast. Matisse is kind of athletic, probably one of the more athletic players on this team. But I would see I'd see lineups on the floor in Sixers games. You'd have Danny Green, George Niang, DeAndre Jordan, and you'd have like Furkan Korkmaz or Paul Millsap on some occasions. Like, those are some of the worst like athletes in the NBA. Most of them very old, save for Furkan, and a lot of them really don't bring anything defensively. Well, Danny Green's alright defensively, but like none of them are fast, none of them are very strong, none of them can jump out of the gym or anything. Would help on defense if we had athletes, even if they're not great defenders. They're better than being an ass defender and not being athletic at all. The closest thing we have to a switchable wing on this team is Isaiah Joe, and I will kind of get into my little rant on him. This kind of is going to lead me into the next area of topic. Isaiah Joe is really fucking good, in my opinion. He will get the Danny Green minutes now that Danny Green is injured. Fucking ACL gone, I believe LCL gone. Danny Green won't be playing this season. That's straight up. 35, just brutalized his fucking leg. He's not playing this season. Isaiah Joe has a very big chance to get quality minutes on this roster. It's all up to fucking Doc Rivers if he wants to fucking put him in. I think he should play. A lot of fucking people think he should fucking play. He's a much better shooter than Matisse. He's, from what I've seen, a very good defender. He'll actually just stay in front of you. You don't need the blocks. You don't need the steals. Just stay in front of you. Get your hands up. I'm fine with that. Just play good defense. Moving on to said Doc Rivers. There was a lot of optimism when I started the script for this video that the Lakers would graciously free Sixers fans from the shackles of one Doc Rivers. Unfortunately, because we are Sixers fans, nothing will ever go right for us, and they went a separate direction. I can't see another team that is looking at Doc Rivers to be their head coach, and it unfortunately appears like Doc Rivers will be the Sixers head coach going into next season. And honestly, I could end the video right there because no way in my fucking mind do I believe that a team coached by Glenn fucking Rivers will ever reach the mountaintop ever again. The 2008 run, slightly, he's been riding that for fucking 14 years. He hasn't done anything since. I could talk about his prehistoric fucking offensive schemes, his horrendous rotations, but I'm going to touch on, like I said with Isaiah Joe, the personnel choice. Playing DeAndre Jordan over either Charles Bassey or Paul Reed lost the Sixers roughly 5-6 games at least over the course of the season. DeAndre Jordan is not good. He didn't fucking log any minutes in the playoffs last season for the fucking Nets. I don't know why the Lakers picked him up. And I don't know why the fucking Sixers picked him up after the Lakers fucking released him. Whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. He shouldn't be on the fucking roster next season. Bassey and Reed are fucking phenomenal. They're very good backup centers. They deserve to get playing time. Isaiah Joe deserves to get playing time. Going back to DeAndre Jordan, the non-Embiid minutes down the stretch of the season fucking killed this team. You'd pull Embiid out end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter. Teams would either extend their fucking lead, or the lead we'd have would fucking shrink until Joel Embiid came in and he stemmed the tide. We got back to playing actual fucking basketball. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to see because the options were right there. I mean, Paul Reed plays fucking great minutes. He fucking hustles. I didn't see shit from fucking DeAndre Jordan. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I'm kind of rambling on. Just going into the offseason moves I think the Sixers should make. A lot of people have said they should get a third star. Personally, I think we have it. Tyrese Maxey. He's him. Averaged, 18, 19 points per game this season in a starting role. He played a lot better, surprisingly, a lot better, when James Harden was on the fucking court with him. He's not there as a playmaker yet, but that's why we have James Harden now. He can go back to being, the combo scoring guard that he is and excels at being. I don't believe we should get a fucking guy and either trade Maxey or fucking take him off the bench. No, Maxey's the guy. Maxey should be the guy. We need a fucking good, solid bench. Athletes, 3-and-D guys. We need dogs on this team. We need fucking, not DOGS, DAWGS, fucking dogs. You see what Pat Bev did with the fucking Minnesota Timberwolves this season. Timberwolves made the playoffs once in the last, however many years since Kevin Garnett was there. And that was the year with Jimmy Butler. One season in for Patrick Beverley. Timberwolves play-in team, made the playoffs, took the 2-seed Grizzlies to 7 games. Culture changer. That's what he is. We need a guy like that. The culture in the Sixers locker room, it's fun, it's a good culture, it's whatever, but it's not like that hard-nosed, almost like the Heat culture. We need tough guys. We need guys that'll grind, we need good guys. Players that I think the Sixers should target, Amir Coffey from the Clippers, kind of underrated. He got a lot of playing time this season as PG and Kawhi were out in LA. Pretty solid defender. Showed some flashes shooting. Obviously, he'll come off the bench again. He should play a key role on this team. A guy like Caleb Martin, similar role with the Heat. Pretty average-ish defender. Better shooter probably than Coffey, but I felt like every time I watched a Heat game, which wasn't too often, it seemed like Caleb Martin was hitting a clutch 3 down the stretch. We could use that. Could always use more shooting. Going more the athlete route, Derek Jones Jr. He will be coming off an injury. I don't know how bad the injury is, what the recovery's at. I'm pretty sure he was injured pretty early in the season, but he was a pretty solid defender in Chicago before he got injured. And obviously, he can fucking jump out of the gym. Was in the slam dunk competition a few times past few years. Then obviously you got your 3-and-D guys. You got Gary Harris. The Sixers should look at Victor Oladipo. Obviously, Oladipo is younger, has the injury history, so maybe you don't want to go that route. But he is a better scorer than Gary Harris, probably at this point a better defender than Gary Harris. But the injury history is there. It is prevalent. Gary Harris, obviously, he's a better 3-point shooter, not a better scorer. He's a good defender still, though, and he is older. But either of those guys I'd love to have on this team. And in terms of the culture changes that I said earlier, obviously we could trade for Patrick Beverley. He's 1 year, $13.5 million, I think. And Marcus Morris, I'm not sure if he's expiring this season, but I do know that he has a pretty tradable contract, Additionally, James Harden re-signing, I am assuming he will take the player option this year, and him in the front office will hammer out a deal, an extension, I guess, obviously, for the future. I don't expect it to be a max. I do expect it to be more team-friendly because I believe that James Harden himself realizes he's not the Houston James Harden. And even if you're the Sixers, you can't risk paying a guy the max if he can't get back to that level. Because we don't know how bad this hamstring injury could be. I'm assuming it'll be fine after the offseason. That's what a lot of people are saying. But you never know. You can't risk giving that much money to someone who might not be the same ever again. But regardless, I mean, an 80% James Harden is still a pretty damn good player. We just need to shore up the rest of the roster. Daryl Morey, he's got his work cut out for him. I think he could do a good job. But unfortunately for Sixers fans, though, our hopes lie in Daryl Morey and James Harden's hamstring. I'm not sure how enthused I am about that, but I believe we could make a championship run next season if we get the right pieces, obviously. I believe everyone in the organization should be on the same page. James Harden, I think, knows that this is kind of his last real opportunity to win anything as a big focal point in an offense. And hopefully the Sixers can get their shit together, go on a championship run, get Joel Embiid at least to the goddamn Eastern Conference Finals, man. We haven't made it since AI 01. Next season's the season. I hope. That's what I've been hoping. Sixers fans, obviously, have any comments on the video? Comments below. If you like the video, like the video. If you want to subscribe. Liking, sharing obviously helps a lot. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.